Hey YouTube, how you doing? Brian Betz here. A short video I'd like to just talk about for a minute or two, hopefully a minute or two. I could go much longer than that. Octaves, and also just in general, holding your fingers down longer on the guitar. Now what am I talking about? I studied classical guitar for many years in college. And the gentleman I studied classical guitar with, studied with Segovia, his name was Joseph Mays. And he didn't play any jazz at all. And at times, I don't even know if he really liked jazz. But he knew he knows the classical guitar very well. And I remember playing pieces for him on the classical guitar. And he would say to me, "Why don't you hold your fingers down longer?" And I was like, what is this guy talking about? And finally it clicked. One time I was playing, I played like a jazz concert and he came out to support it. And he said, "It sounds like sometimes when you guys are playing jazz guitar," it wasn't even directly and straight at me, "it sounds like there's little pins going in your fingers when you play." And it took me a second to focus in on what the heck he was talking about. And he meant like this, it was staccato. So like, I'm trying to show you, but like I was in college and he's like, "It sounds like you jazz guitar guys, like you just lift your fingers up too quick." And finally, after him saying that so many times to me in lessons and getting yelled at, it stuck. And I was like, he's right. The coolest thing, and this is my subjective view, coolest thing, like if I'm hearing somebody play jazz guitar in general, sustain, hold your doggone fingers down. And it's a concept that seems like, yeah, what are we talking about, Bri? Like, yeah, so many people don't do it. And I'm still like to this day trying to sustain. So if I listen to Wes Montgomery, my three guys I listen to, I'm old school. Wes Montgomery, George Benson's my favorite, and Pat Martino. You listen to those guys, big, fat, wide sound, especially Wes, my God. So you hear him play octaves or chord solos, and it's like wide. It's not staccato. Like take a guy like Grant Green, huge inspirational player for me, crossover player when I was getting from rock to jazz. But kind of a staccato, let's be objective about this. Grant Green had like a staccato sound, and that was his thing. But you listen to like Wes or George Benson, and it's wide, and that's what I want. The way to achieve that, it's not a hard concept to like actually define. Hold your fingers down. So like, my grandfather clock's going off. So like, let me see if I can get this going. Actually, you know what I'm not even gonna do a play along. So your chords, everything. So that means when you're sliding too, I always teach from my mistakes. Things I learned that I wish I would have fixed earlier on in my playing. So I remember being like my late teenage years and my early 20s. Yeah, man, I could play octaves. Yeah, I could play them. But they didn't sound like, I look back now and they didn't sound the way now looking at it, the way they should have sounded. I was lifting my fingers up too quick. So like when you play octaves, at least from where I'm coming from, so you guys can hate and comment and say whatever you want, but where I'm coming from is the sustain, So I'm moving around, but I'm dragging them. I hope that comes across that way instead of doing this. Instead of doing that. Now, if you really want that sound, and you know, go for it. And there's probably a time and place for that. But what I've learned is, if you want the slick thing, you just gotta drag them around, and that requires hand strength, and it requires, for me, for years, it was hearing it. I listen to the music and be like, yeah, that's, Wes Montgomery playing octaves, yeah. But then when I was doing it, I wasn't executing it. I am not saying I'm Wes Montgomery, no sir. But trying to get as close as I can to that sound, that's what I've kind of, determined. I hope this helps. And that goes for anything. Your chords, your lines, You can still burn and have a real wide, fat sound with a PH. That's what I'm hearing. I hope this video helps. If you like it, you like what I said, so subscribe. Check out some of my other videos. And keep swinging.